Jeremy said recently that he'd like to be considered one of the best wingers in the world. He wants to be in that conversation, but he knows he has to score more goals. Do you think that that is his...
That is what I'm talking about your colleagues. So what depends is how your mentality say, I want to become one of the best wingers in the world. Otherwise, you're in your comfort zone and you say, no, it's fine, it's fine. So always have been Jeremy, you know, with dribbles and work and whatever, always try. But say, no, I want to become one of the best of the best. That is...
But when you reach that level, you see the attributes for him to be at that very, very top level with Vinicius and Lamine Yamal.
Yeah, for sure. And always accept being pushed, you know, always accept that. And that is so nice, you know. Yeah, we are really pleased. But not now since I arrived, right? Now is winning games, goals is obviously, but always have been really, really good.
Solid.
Hi Pep. Kovacic came off the bench at Everton in the week and made an important pass for Erling, and then Phil and Omar today. How important are these players off the bench going to be for these final two
top. We talked many times. I know it's not easy for them, but I'm pretty sure the next games are going to play. I want to rotate the team because otherwise we cannot arrive finals or Bournemouth a little bit. You know, we'll see the result tomorrow, and after we take a decision.
Phil, Omar, some of those players giving you something else to think about when you're picking your 11 for?
Especially Omar, so it's not easy because normally play you just want a striker. He's a proper striker, and Erling is there. Erling is so important for us, but the contribution of Omar, always he played the amount of goals, and the rate for the minutes play is so high, so it's really good.
Martin.
Yeah, Pep, just on Erling there, that's 50 goals now for City and Norway this season. Do we almost sort of take those numbers for granted? They're incredible numbers.
Yeah, it's incredible. And there was a period I was so tired after November when come from Norway qualification was a Monday struggle. I did for the amount of minutes, you know. The difference, for example, I saw the minutes of Dembélé and PSG I played on Erling I played is 2,000 more. So it's a lot of minutes, so a lot of, and it carry on in the moment you can play. Omar was in AFCON and he could not, and Erling always is Erling, you know. A threat for the opponent, set pieces and a sense of goal, you know. And Erling just have to bring more players close to him when they arrive from the side. So have to bring more players there. Because after that, we'll score more and more goals. When he's alone in the box, it's so difficult for him to score because they're there.
Last one.
Hi, Pep. You mentioned the FA Cup there, and you also mentioned the Carabao Cup in passing. Why do you love those? Why do they mean so much to those competitions? Because they don't to every manager these days, and you've won both of them plenty times. Why do they mean so much?
Well, the competition knockout stage, it's like, you know, alive or dead. It's nice. It's like now at the end of the season, you know what happened. And I think I tried with my staff since I arrived 10 years ago, make this club, when you play the first game in the preseason, whatever, in Asia, in America, whatever, we have to win. We have to try to win. It's not choose competitions, ni choose games, ni nothing. And the work ethic and everything. And I think all of us, the chairmen and the CEOs, sport directors, myself, the players, inoculating our bodies, we have to do our best every game. For respect for our people, for respect for the job, for incredible, all of us, incredible, well paid, we have to do it. You like that job? You know, because we are here. And that's why. So you are out, you are out. I'm the person who accepts more when it's fair, the defeats, because it's part of the job, but we have to do our job, and that's why. And also, as a manager, when you arrive at FA Cup, for example, or Carabao Cup against League One team, or we're harder than the players know I am. Be careful, guys. If you are know you are, we will be in trouble. And that is, you know, the players feel and the club feel that it doesn't matter what happens. It's easy, you know, and Madrid in Champions League or Arsenal here at home, you know, playing for the title, you know the team will be there, fans will be there. But that is a moment that defines the clubs, I said many times. The consistency during 10 years in all competition has been really, truly extraordinary. Extraordinary.
And how do you keep the players switched on? Because obviously the cup final comes in the middle of a title race. It doesn't come at the end, it comes in the middle. So how do you keep them switched on to the FA Cup?
No, I don't think about just about the generosity for the Premier League as always. So have been really nice for this schedule, but it's what it is. It's what it is. We accept. I always said, don't play the final FA Cup, you wouldn't have this schedule. Yeah. So we are in the final, you have this schedule. And I would love to have the schedule in semi-final Champions League in the middle of the title race. We were there. We won the treble, or we won the quadruple. We were there in that dynamic. So it's really nice. As much as you have fit that we have. So look with energy, just it's easy to say. Okay, made the substitution 1 minute, Jeremy put the ball in the net. But we want energy, and Omar give us the energy, and Phil give us that. You know that, and you need everyone. So as much as you are fit, you can do it because we did it.
OK, we're going to talk about the race for the Champions League now. And Brighton, Bournemouth and Brentford fans have good reason to be cheering for Aston Villa tonight in that all-English Europa League semi-final second leg against Nottingham Forest. That's because those three sides need Villa to win the Europa League if they'd have any chance of going through to the Champions League with a sixth-placed Premier League finish. Our football correspondent Rob Dorset is here to explain what is quite a complicated situation. So we're going to do our very best to clear this up. First of all, just remind us how it could be the sixth place side that also goes through to the Champions League.
Possibly the most complicated story I've ever tried to explain in all my career at Sky Sports News. Right, crucially, this is nothing to do with the Premier League. This is an anomaly that's been created by UEFA's pretty complicated situation with regards to how they allocate their European places. And we found out a few weeks ago, didn't we, that England would get a fifth Champions League place because of how well the English teams have performed in Europe this season. That's called the European Performance Spot. But under UEFA's rules, they give priority to teams that win European competitions ahead of that, ahead of where they finish in their domestic league. And so if Aston Villa were to win the Europa League, that EPS spot would go to the sixth place team in the Premier League, and they would qualify for the Champions League. There's three criteria then that have got to happen in order for that to happen. Firstly, Aston Villa have to win the Europa League, as we've mentioned. Secondly, Aston Villa have to finish fifth in the Premier League table. Not fourth, not sixth, they have to...
Has to be fifth.
Has to be fifth.
OK.
And then finally, the FA Cup winners have to finish in the top seven. Manchester City...
Right.
That's going to happen. If it's Chelsea, they're ninth at the minute, so there might need to be some improvement there. But if any one of those three criteria doesn't happen, England will not get a sixth Champions League place.
OK, so that is, first of all, the first thing that you need to know. Can you also explain to us this bizarre situation where, I couldn't believe this when I heard this, where it could be better for Brentford or Brighton to lose their matches on the final day of the Premier League season in order to get into the Champions League? How does this happen?
It sounds bizarre, doesn't it? And again, it's nothing that is in the control of the Premier League. It's all down to a quirk, an anomaly in the UEFA rules. It doesn't apply to Bournemouth. That's the first thing we should say. Bournemouth, Brighton and Brentford are all battling for that sixth place. But Bournemouth, this doesn't apply to. Why? Because they're not playing a team above them on the final day of the season. Right. They're playing Nottingham Forest, whereas Brighton and Brentford both are. And if either Brighton or Brentford are sixth going into that final round of matches, it may be better for them to lose rather than win. And we're going to show you exactly why. Here's the fixtures, look, and we'll talk about those in due course. But remember, the key criteria for England to get a sixth Champions League spot is for Aston Villa to finish fifth and win the Europa League, but we're assuming they're going to do that, and finish fifth. So if Brighton or Brentford is sixth, and they're playing Liverpool and Manchester United respectively, Brighton or Brentford don't want to damage Manchester United's or Liverpool's chances of finishing above Aston Villa. Because Villa, if they win, could jump above Manchester United or Aston Villa. And look again at the fixtures. Look, Brentford are at Anfield. Brighton are at home to Manchester United. So it may be beneficial, if Brighton or Brentford is in sixth position at that stage, to lose that match to try and help Aston Villa finish fifth.
Unbelievable.
It's a bizarre situation. It's still pretty unlikely at the moment because there's an awful lot of football to be played between now and then, but it explains exactly why tonight Brentford, Bournemouth and Brighton fans are all going to be cheering very, very loudly for Aston Villa to go through this semi-final in the Europa League and then win the thing at the end.
But you know what this does? This throws up a whole other lot of questions as well, doesn't it, in terms of integrity of the league, doesn't it? Because effectively, you want to lose a game. Now, that could impact, other parts of the league as well, couldn't it? I mean, it's different because none of them are playing, say, Manchester City or Arsenal, but, it could have affected The title race.
It's a nightmare scenario for the Premier League because it's not in their control. This is a UEFA diktat. It's UEFA's way of calculating the qualification for its elite competitions that has thrown up this anomaly. It may not happen. It probably won't happen. But it's been discussed an awful lot on social media, and so that's why we felt we had to check it out and tell you the truth of what the situation could be. That table you're looking at there is hypothetical. It's not definite. Look, we've got 37 games played. Well, most of them have played 35, some of them 34 as things stand right now. So there's a lot of football to be played. But if we end up with this scenario going into the final round of matches, we will have that bizarre situation where Brighton or Brentford will probably feel better off to lose rather than win in terms of getting into the Champions League. I should say as well, by the way, Brighton or Brentford won't want to lose and drop a place and end up at 7th, because then they wouldn't get the Champions League spot anyway. So there's more complications and more hypotheticals to throw into all of this. But this scenario we've painted for you, I hope, gives you an idea of just what a bizarre situation it could be.
Well done with all that, by the way.
Thank you.
Rather you than me. Anyway, I feel a lot more informed. I hope you do as well.